Philip Dussor, some people call me Brawler. Currently, I guess in the live aspect, I'm doing Aggrofate again, that originated in 2002.
Okay.
But recording projects, I do lyrics for Liam, which is like my lyrical screaming, I don't want to say will, I'm trying to think how to put it, to where if my son ever grows up, he'll have musical, not leftovers, but testimonies.
Okay.
Feelings I had with him that, I started to record it just for him, but I like, if I burnt him a CD and that CD gets destroyed, what's going to happen? So I put it online. Maybe other fathers could pick it up.
Yeah.
When it comes to metal, it always seems to be a non-partying aspect. So maybe some father would be like, man, hey, I'm a father and I like metal. I can relate to this.
Yeah.
If not, as long as my son has it, and he'd be like, man, if anything, even though I don't understand what he's saying, I know my dad loves me.
Sure.
And doing vocals for Raisethedeathtoll, which at the moment's a recording project.
Okay.
May go live again. But for my love of horror movies, I wanted to write songs based on horror movies I liked, as opposed to a real feeling that being a grown man, you're sad one day, you're angry the next, you're happy. But taking my favorite horror movies and trying to make it into a song.
Okay.
So that's what Raisethedeathtoll started as. That's what it is. It's not no angst or, man,
all up in your feelings.
at all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make horror movie metal.
Okay.
And right now that's just went back to just making songs, trying to get out the local live show rat race and get back to that due to Aggrofate preparing for shows again.
Gotcha. Okay. So you were speaking about your child being an inspiration for some of the music that you're making. What about when you were a kid? Was it a bunch of metal? Like, what did your parents listen to when you were a child? What were you hearing?
To be honest, I've never been asked that. I don't really remember them listening to music.
Really?
It was my friends' parents in their car rides listening to songs, whether it be the Motown hits. One friend listened to a bunch of alternative music. A lot of R&B
okay.
and rap, I guess, growing up on the West Bank. But yeah, thinking about it, both of my parents passed away, bless their souls. I don't really remember my dad listening to much music, and I just remember my mom liking "Shoot There It Is" by Salt and Pepper.
Okay.
The Shoot song.
Yeah.
I said "Shoot There It Is," like "Whoop There It Is."
Yeah.
Or and she liked Cher, and she really liked Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
Okay, there's a little bit of rock in that. I was looking for the common thread. I'm like, this dude is metal. Like, what was it back in the day? So, a little bit of Aerosmith, but I mean, in general, it just sounds like whatever was on the radio.
Oh yeah,
both families, your family and your friend's family.
Yeah,
it was a lot of whatever was just on the radio. Did you find yourself gravitating towards one particular genre or the other, or did you like it all too?
I liked it all. But for some reason, I felt like in elementary school, where I was really liking music, it was divided to where my metal friends were at that time, that kind of metal. If you listen to rap, you were shunned. But then my friends that listened to rap, if you like metal, you were shunned.
Sure.
So I was almost like, they have guilty pleasures, a closet listener. I almost felt that way with them in a sense of, I didn't tell one I listened to one and one that I listened to the other.
Those were the dividing lines back in the day of who you identified as, basically.
Yeah, and it was weird.
Because you dressed that way. If you listened to rap, you dressed like a hip-hop person or urban wear, or if you listened to rock and roll, you dressed like people could tell, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, what camp are you in? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, luckily, being poor and all my friends being poor, I don't think you could identify us on what we wore other than we were poor.
Okay.
All of us.
That was your genre?
Yeah, we were just poor.
Yeah.
But no, so what's crazy is, and how far it goes. So one of my elementary school friends now plays drums in like 8 bands.
Okay.
Chris Sampe.
Okay.
You know, he plays in Constricted. He plays in, man, why I'm drawing a blank. Soul Dredger. He plays in, well, at the time he played in Ty for Mary, but he was like the strict metal person. But at that time, it was okay to like the Insane Clown Posse.
Okay.
So I think being poor, that was the only rap we could listen to in the metal group.
Got you.
And like Marilyn Manson was big. I think the first band I actually ever really gotten into was Green Day.
Okay.
At that time. But
how old were you at that time, though?
I guess we got to look up when Dookie came out.
Okay.
Because I remember my parents being upset because, like I said, I was poor, that somehow or another I figured out how to do the Columbia House thing. Remember when you sent in a penny and get the CDs?
Yeah, I did it.
I got all these CDs, and they're like, oh man, I guess. And even going to Family Dollar at that time and point was like, oh man, like I was gonna miss a meal getting this damn CD player.
Yeah.
So I could listen to these CDs. But it was Green Day, the Beck album.
Sure.
With,
Odelay?
No, what was his song? The I'm a Loser, Baby.
Yeah, I think that was on Odelay, I want to say, that album.
Was it?
Yeah, I think
Mellow
so.
Gold?
Now you got me wondering. One or the other. But you got me in the era, so I know when and where you're talking about.
And I remember Beavis and Butthead was huge. And there was like a Beavis and Butthead experience. But I got away with it because Aerosmith's on it.
Okay.
But I think like Megadeth's on it. Sir Mix-a-Lot, Run DMC. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's where, I guess the metal, but that metal was different than like the metal now.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the full screaming. I remember the first time I heard of the band Korn, you ever heard of Jimmy's Chicken Shack? Mm-mm. Well, Jimmy's Chicken Shack has a song called High, but that album is awesome. For its time, they never blew up like anybody else, but Jimmy's Chicken Shack came out with an album. I just remember Korn being a bunch of white dudes with dreads.
Yeah. And
I saw this video, and the video looked creepy. The song was heavy, and I was telling everybody and their mom that I was Korn, and it absolutely wasn't.
Oh, that's funny.
But that was kind of like the first thing in the metal. 311 was probably the heaviest thing at that time too. That one Offspring song.
So you're naming like, so you appreciated, because part of me was going to say that you were still ordering some hip hop in your 12 for a penny or whatever. But I did that too when I was a kid, and I found myself trying to fill the 12 because there weren't necessarily all the bands that I was looking for on that list that I could choose from. So I had to fill the 12 to get maybe the 6 that I wanted. You know what I'm saying? So you were still open to the mix a lot, but you were getting Beck, which was a little bit of both, and then crossing over into like the new metal guys and stuff.
Or when BC Boys came out with Sabotage.
Sure.
Ill Communication. Or, but no, one of the first groups I was heavy into, but it seemed to be okay, was Bone Thugs and Harmony. Mm-hmm. And Mystical.
Yeah.
Being New Orleans. But,
local, yeah.
I guess living on the West Bank, you had those that liked the metal, or at that time what was heavy, like Everybody Prays Better Than Ezra. Mm-hmm. But then you got the other half that had like every album Master P and whatever No Limit came out.
Right.
Too.
You know what this is making me think of? I'm sorry to interrupt, but Philip Doty, P. Doty, is a member on Neworleansmusicians.com, and he used to have a podcast, and it was funny because in one of his episodes he was talking about, he just flat out said it, he was like, it was hard to be a heavy metal dude in the 90s down here because hip hop had taken over. It was like the new thing, right? And in the early 90s, at least around here, and some of these artists that you're naming, like Mystical, and that's when Cash Money and No Limit were like at their peak, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, it was hard to be a heavy metal dude. Like, you know, you had to fucking stand your ground, you know what I'm saying? So it's funny to hear you say that, but I mean, you were following your own passions. When did you start getting into I guess, making your own music, and what form did that manifest itself?
Well, it started with none of us having a studio. We had like the press. It was more advanced than the Home Alone Talk Boys, but like when you like a detective interrogating you.
Yeah, it's like a mini recorder, like a mini tape recorder.
Yeah, we would have those.
Yeah.
And none of it was really metal at the time. Like I said, at some point, all my friends and I were heavy into ICP because all my friends and I, all the people in school that I was friends with, and how we got popular in school at first was we did backyard wrestling.
Okay.
And filmed with an old VCR,
nice.
Old camcorder.
Yeah.
And man, they would go to school and you try to get your tape back. Like, hey man, I gave you that tape. Where's it at? Oh man, so-and-so want to see it. You go talk to him. So-and-so want to see it. So our backyard wrestling tapes was getting passed around high school to where people wouldn't even calling us by our real names. Because I lived in Bridge City at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, there was the Brooklyn Brawler. And I became the Bridge City Brawler. Okay. And then I moved to Westwego, so people just started calling me Brawlers. Not that I could fight or nothing like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna ask that at some point. I'm like, how did you get your name? But you were cheating, dude. Jesus Christ, how tall are you?
Well, I wasn't this big always, but
back then when you were wrestling.
Oh, I was skinny, but I was tall.
Oh, okay.
And I worked on a boat. And I got into the wheelhouse, but But no, now I'm almost 40. I'm like, hey man, you could just call me Philip, man. That's easy. But all through high school, and people would just run into people that didn't even go to our school, like, oh man, it's the Bridge City Brawler, is this and that. I'm like,
what?
Damn, they was just passing my tapes because every we would take trash day, find shit, and the next day we would just film. We had dialogue, we had all this stuff.
What was trash day? What are you talking about?
Like the night before, when you put your trash out, the trash man come.
Yeah.
We would find things to like throw each other through or use as weapons.
Gotcha.
When they bring the trash out.
Yeah.
So like doors, tables.
Nice.
Garbage cans.
Yeah.
And man, we became popular in school just through that. Because we could never get our tapes back.
Right.
It's like, god damn. And well, through that, if you watched ECW when it first came out, they would have Insane Clown Posse commercials.
Okay.
And that humor just hit with all of us because we just had like a dark humor. We grew up in the art of ribbing on each other.
Sure.
To where like we just, every day you was just getting roasted. No matter what.
Yeah.
It still happens.
Yeah.
To where like every friend that I still have from that day is a master at it. Mm-hmm. We'll just roast each other and it's like, oh man, it'd be some of like the darkest shit. Even friends that we had that passed away are still getting roasted.
Yeah, okay.
But I haven't talked to any of them in so long that they're pretty much dead to me. But I'm just kidding. But ICP just hit us with it. So then we started to make rap songs in that humor.
Okay.
Like none of us were thugs. We wasn't selling drugs. We're not gangster. But the rap of being funny and clowny.
Sure.
So that's how that kind of started.
Okay.
But it's still on videotape. And then it would just get recorded and passed along like, man, y'all are dumb. To where the first band I was ever in, Aggrofate, there was a guitar player and a drummer practicing around. And due to the rapping kind of videos we made, asked me and a buddy of mine to go try out. And I had no intention of screaming.
To do what in the band though?
Just be a vocalist.
Okay.
Just show up.
And did the band have a vocalist at that time? Mm-mm. Okay, so it was like cast calling, like open position, come try out.
Yeah.
And this was based off of what they had seen on these wrestling videos, or they wanted some of that popularity?
Well, due to the wrestling videos, we was making freestyle videos, like rapping.
Okay.
But also at that time, new metal was getting big. I think Linkin Park had just came out.
Yeah.
the screaming, a rapper.
Okay. So they heard your vocals through the raps, and they were like, "You might be a fit. Come try out."
Yeah, me and a buddy.
Gotcha.
And well, the friend came to one and never came again.
Okay.
I just kept going to eventually be like, all right, man. So I'm rapping, I'm screaming, I'm trying to do all this, and like the very first song I ever did is so embarrassing because I just rapped, and then when I feel like the downbeat of the song went, I tried to scream, and it was just so awful. But I kept showing up. They never told me to leave.
Yeah.
Or
Were you writing your own lyrics?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, we was writing lyrics before that. That's what I'm saying. We was writing freestyle, funny stuff.
Okay.
To where now,
Gotcha.
like I'm with a guitar player and a drummer. I guess I'll just write some mean stuff. But that was like more in your feeling, kind of like I was dating a girl at the time, so everything I felt about her, I was just singing it. So it was like, oh, these songs about me? No, man, I'm just writing in general, you know. And this is 2001, 2002.
Yeah, that's new metal hype.
Oh, big time! Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the influences was. It was like Linkin Park, Insane Clown Posse, but we didn't want to be funny. I wanted to try to like match them.
Sure.
And we're all in high school at this time, to where I'm trying to think why I didn't even make it to the first show. They played their first show, just them two. I'm trying to think why I didn't even go. I'm trying to think about it. But there used to be a place on the West Bank. I'm not familiar with the MVC.
Okay.
Do you remember that? You ever heard of that place?
Yeah, I heard of the place. I never went.
Oh, well, it was a haunted house. It was a skate park. It was a tattoo shop. It was an Indian reservation, and it was a venue.
Whoa.
And it was all ages. And these people would throw a 3-day event, and it would be packed from 3 p.m. to the last band, and you could sleep there.
Nice.
And that was our very first show ever, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. And the band that inspired us, well, there's 3 bands that inspired us the most. Like I said, when we was in high school, that's what started the kind of thing too.
Yeah.
A friend of ours was like, man, my cousin plays in this band called Organized Hostility. I need to come see them. They're playing at Cypress Hall. And I'm thinking, you know, just from watching bands on MTV, seeing them on it, I thought you like had to apply for a job and then you're in a band. I didn't know how bands started. I just knew there were bands. I didn't know about a local band. Yeah. I didn't know how you come up. I didn't think you started in a garage or any of that. So I'm like, man, you just straight up cousins with a band? I thought these people would just make like actors. I thought it was just like, man, you just, you know, that's what I thought at a young age. I'm like, you just see them on TV. You know, like Marilyn Manson was big. You know, then you start to see like the Ozzy Osbournes, the Alice Coopers. Sure. I thought you like, man, this is all part of like a thing. What? Your cousin plays in a band and he works at Pizza Hut? That's not a real thing. Yeah, right. People don't, I mean, you touched on a good point because especially with younger kids, like they don't understand that these are real people. These are not TV personalities. Do you know what I mean? Like they're real people with real lives and real jobs, and they do a lot of real shit just to be able to get to do what you're seeing right now. And what you're seeing right now took months, if not years, before you actually saw this finished product. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of behind the scenes that's just not revealed. No, you're right. So we went to this concert, and it blew our mind. It was like a local show, and Justin Perez was one of the drummers. You brought him up earlier. Yeah. He played in a band called Demise. So the bands were Organized Hostility, In Vain, Demise. Okay. Local bands that had been struggling and trying to come up. Sure. And at that time, all the bands, or somebody in particular, but somebody had to come up with enough money to rent that venue. But that venue was always a mainstay to where it eventually became, to me, the catalyst of my whole youth. Sure. My youth was there. Yeah. To where we went to this place, even if we didn't know who was playing, because that's where all your friends were. Sure. Parents would drop you off, and you just was there. You either liked the band or you didn't. But half the time, I didn't even know who was playing. But you were attracted by the scene. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it was also a place to where kids could, like, get together, mess up, learn, network. Like, you went there a lot of times and saw everybody's first show. Yeah. You know, it wasn't ours. Like I said, ours was at the MVC. but the bands that inspired us liked us enough to show up and give us guidance and like, man, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Here, won't you try this? Won't you do that? Taught us how to book shows.
Yeah.
Taught us how to make shirts. Taught us how to make flyers. And all this was before MySpace, all before social media.
Yeah.
Like my first website, because we didn't have any money, was aggrofate.cjb.net.
Okay.
Because you had to have the ads.
Yeah.
And all that. I forgot what the question was.
It was basically, it was asking you about the transition to starting in music, and you basically encapsulated it there.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, it started.
So you obviously you stuck with that band. They liked you, and you kept coming back, like you said, and you started doing more with that band. Now, you're talking about now your first website and T-shirts and all these other things. So you got involved with kind of pushing this band, promoting this band, and
well, we all did. Like you said, so I was 16, the drummer was 13, the other guitar player, who's my relief captain now.
Yeah.
I think he's a little older than me, and then we had a bass player. His name was Travis, who we took from another band. But we would sleep at the house, and as soon as one person woke up, we woke them all up, and we'd go in the garage and write all day. Hang out. We would video every little thing that we did on the mini recorder. The guitar player had like an 8-track recorder. Every little thing that we did that it was complete was super exciting. Sure. You know, as soon as we got from point A to point B, from the beginning of a song to the end of a song, we just documented it to where once we figured out how to burn a CD, we took the shitty little recordings, we'd go to the all ages spot and hang them out.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody still has them. I hope they don't. But we just get excited. But then we would add like one little change to one song, make another 50 CDs, and just go hand them out. Go to Lakeside Mall, Oakwood Mall, and just anybody that we thought would like metal, you know, because that's one thing I noticed now that I don't see often back then. But we used to call it field work, to where we went to a concert just to hand out the CDs.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford to get in, but we would catch you in the line or in the parking lot.
Yep.
Hey man, this is my band. Please listen to us. This and that.
Yep.
Even made flyers with just a website, to where I remember one touring band was like, hey man, I don't live here. I'm not gonna make it to this. It's not a show. It's our website. Please check us out.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say just me. We all were. I mean, we had like the excitement. I think our second show ever, we got paid $50 to play a high school graduation party, to which we started a mosh pit in a swimming pool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, you know, like we're all 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like early 2000s too, to where, like again, no social media, no nothing.
Yeah, but like you pointed out, I mean, the live show and the mosh pit and all of that stuff. As musicians, you live for the reaction. Like you live for the vibe from the crowd feeds the band at the very same time. It's like a machine. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure that was unbelievable to feel at a young age. You know, I mean, you just kind of getting your feet wet and all of this stuff. You know, so how does that play itself out? How does it come to pass? Like how does it, when you start the decline of that momentum, what triggered it?
What you mean the decline?
Like, I guess the decline in the relationships between people, or the enthusiasm. Like, what caused you to move on to another project eventually?
Oh,
and how many years did this span before you started to shift?
Well, I guess at that time, it was not necessarily a decline. So let's see. So that one, if you're talking about that first one, we started young, excited, 2001. The decline for me, because I quit that one over just kind of like, and I don't blame him in a sense at that time, but the decline for me was getting to, I think, 2008. So that band has been together, and this is the band that's playing in January, for like 7-8 years, to where we're not touring. You know, you're playing the same shows.
So it wasn't turning out like y'all had hoped. Y'all had high hopes, and y'all pushed really hard.
Oh no, the turnouts were there.
Okay.
I guess for me, my quitting point with that one, I guess it'd be open. There was this girl that wanted us to play for her 16th birthday party. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get the full story at the time. We had just played in Alabama with a band from Georgia, who's big and signed. Their guitar player broke their arm, but they still went and played. That guy with his free arm was helping equipment and was encouraging them, hey, show must go on. So years later, or maybe a year later, the guitar player we had at the time broke his wrist or broke his hand. Okay. And this girl wanted us to play her 16th birthday party. I'm like, man, sweet 16. She takes pictures. At the time, she was like a photographer. You know, they didn't want to play. The rest of the band didn't want to play the show without him. But I'm thinking, like, man, this is a West Bank show. Is with this girl. It's our sweet 16. Yeah. Let's just play it for her. Who cares? Let's just go out there and rock out the best we can. They didn't want to do it. And I kind of thought, like, man, if we don't do this for this girl, it's not something I want to be a part of anymore. Gotcha. And that's when I had quit that one. But since then, we played one show at Twist of Lime. 2002, no. Turned 31, so about to turn 40, so 9 years ago. Yeah. And almost 300 people came. Wow. Yeah, so I'm hoping the same happens this time, which I guess we could have talked about it back then, but there was really no decline. I guess it just becomes more of like, and I feel like it happens to a lot of bands here. If you don't tour, you're not writing new songs, or your main focus is on the shows. Mm-hmm. There's only so many places that you could play here with so many bands. Yeah. If you're in that little clique, or not in a clique. If you're not in a clique, that's probably rougher, because they have some, like, you know, Twist of Lime, Babylon. There's a saturation that occurs too, man, and you gotta watch out for that too, because that's almost as much of a threat as stagnation. Do you know what I mean? And I'm always on the fence with that. That's why I tell somebody, like, in this instance, who's right, who's wrong? There's the ones that's like, if you look at the sign bands, or the bands that do awesome around here, they probably won't play here. Like, how often does Gohor play here? How often does Exhorter play here? How often does, you know, I mean, Brat's playing tonight. But they'll say, like, hey, man, this is probably going to be our only hometown show for the entire year. Yeah. To where you have some that will play on Babylon on Friday and Twist of Lime on Saturday. Yeah. And it's on the same block. And and then you see a lot of people, you see a lot of those, I don't want to use the word desperate, but it's kind of what it is. Hey, man, we need two bands to play Twist of Lime. We need two bands to play here with us. I almost don't feel like who's at fault, whether it's whoever's booking or if it's the venue, to where, like, man, this guy of an out-of-town band, out-of-town saying Baton Rouge, Lafayette, asked for this date. I don't know if you feel insulted as the band to where, like, man, I can't just come play there and pick the bands, or you can't pick there. They're allowing this to happen. So, like, to me, almost the networking with bands has come to a cease, it feels like, to where they just go to the venue and ask for them, like, all right, man, you got to find some locals. So then you call me, who has a son, an offshore schedule. Hey man, we should hook up and play a show sometime. Yeah, man, absolutely. What date you want? Well, I got next weekend at Twist. Like, man, it's in person. You're just gonna ask me like that? Like, we could network. We could talk months before and make this an event. We could make a flyer. We could promote it. Now you're just kind of like, the necessary. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the first one you asked. Two, you're only asking me because the venue told you need to find some locals. Yeah. I'm like, that seems so impersonal. That's not how I came up. Usually you get with a band, hey man, let's do some shows together. All right, cool. I'm thinking about this month. What venue you want to do? Sure. What band should we have? Some prep time, some build up. Some talking. And it goes further from that. And I think I feel like I'm jumping around. It's cool, man. It's cool. We went off on a tangent for a minute. So Agggrofate's gone at that point. Where do you go from there? Well, at that time, I wanted to mix. So when I quit that, there was a couple other bands I really liked.
And you said 2007 is where we're at now.
2008.
2008, okay.
So there were some people, at that point I'd have made some connections. I know who to book, how to make shirts, how to make CDs, how to record. So at this point I wasn't ready to done, and it wasn't like a comeback at them because they kept going. And I thought, to be honest, at that time when Aggrofate stopped, or when I stopped,
yeah,
the guitar player at the time became the vocalist, and they got another guitar player. But that guitar player, his name's Josh. He's still in the band. That's still in play. Has such a awesome range of vocals. Mm-hmm. I thought it became better because I can't sing. I could just scream. So at Aggrofate, I screamed, he sang, but he could also scream.
Okay, so you brought a different little flavor to it.
Oh, and I thought it was awesome. I thought it was further than what I could do, and he has a good stage presence. So I was like, hey, maybe this was like the cool thing. But I want to bring my love for Southern hip hop, local hip hop, in with that. So I reached out to some people I thought felt that vibe, and it worked out more than I could expect it. And we started a band called The Unwilling Commencement right off, I guess right after that. But then it was kind of weird because Aggrofate at that time was past high school. We done grew up.
Yeah.
We all had jobs.
Yeah.
I joined The Unwilling Commencement in 2008, 2009 while these kids were in high school. So it brought like that nostalgia vibe back because I'm at high school parties. Times are different from when I was in high school.
Right.
You know, now they have flip cup and beer pong and all this stuff, and these kids have swimming pools. But it was adding that kind of flavor. But also on the connections and networking I did in Aggrofate, this one kind of jump started right away.
Sure.
And there was different venues. You know, we played Cypress Hall a few times, played the MVC. The drummer at the time, sister, started dating the singer from Chimera. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They're huge. And actually, the singer from Chimera highly influenced me in Aggrofate to where, like, man, this dude's sister went to a show in House of Blues. They're based in Ohio.
Yeah.
And starts dating him. I was like, holy shit, now I'm hanging out with this dude. He's at practice.
Yeah.
I got him on the Raise-the-Deathtoll song.
Cool.
I used the connection, and it was awesome. But, yeah, just like skyrocketed that right away due to the connections we made, this and that. But I guess the same thing happened with that to where you can either just keep playing the same spots and enjoying it, write new songs, or people don't want to play. I'm tired of playing the same things, but don't want to take the show on the road.
Yeah, that's rough, dude.
So it's like, all right, so you don't want to play this, but you don't want to travel. Then where's that leave us?
Right.
And that's ultimately what led to that ending as well too.
Gotcha. So what do you do afterwards? At this point, you've been a vocalist for years, and you've started to push bands and make connections. Well, push your own band and make connections in the process. But you've remained local all this time. Where do you go from there, and what inspires you? Because from there, you kind of change a little bit of your style, don't you? I mean, what do you do? Explain.
Style as far as music?
Yeah, like your inspiration for it.
Oh, well, mine always been creating songs.
Sure.
The show part was an extra, but there's no anxiety or no, which we didn't use that word back then, but there was no nervousness in making the song. There's never been, anytime we was creating or making songs,
yeah,
there's always a great level of excitement. There's always, man, what can we do? There's always, man, especially if everybody's on the same page, or even if not, the back and forth, I don't like this, let's try this. Oh, what about this part? Time flies, we're having fun. When it comes to the shows, the scheduling, the worrying if people's gonna show up, another band dropping off, or, oh, we gotta be here at this time. so-and-so's got to work, he might not make it, this and that. That's where I guess the aggravation and the
Gotcha.
So the show's always been, if it goes well, of course it's fun, or the excitement or whatever.
Sure.
But there's never been a bad moment in creating. There's never been a bad moment in writing. Even if there's a disagreement on writing a song and somebody has an idea to back it up, it's still fun.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
like,
the possibilities are endless at that point.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's just us. But when it comes to like, I guess the show point, but also too, kind of touching on what we was talking about earlier, the end of Aggrofate, beginning of TUC, the Unwilling Commencement, I just got hired at Moran.
Okay.
So that was a whole different kind of...
Started working on the boats, and you had like big boy responsibilities at this point.
Well, I was taking care of my mom at the time too. And, you know, week on, week off at that time. The drummer and the guitar player of Aggrofate was working at Moran at that time too. The drummer had quit Moran so Aggrofate could play Texas.
Oh wow!
So then I ended up at the end of Aggrofate like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go work on the boats. I don't know if I could commit full time, but then I realized I had just as much time. You know, like the boat really didn't hinder.
Okay.
We could book shows around it, which I wish in hindsight we could have done with the drummer at the time.
Sure.
So he didn't have to quit. Like, hey, man, you can't play this weekend, we'll play that.
Yeah, dude. And how many pieces did you have in that band?
Aggrofate at that time, 5.
5.
Yeah, it was that 5 right there.
So, I mean, that's kind of taxing. I interviewed a funk band out of New Orleans, and, dude, I forget. I think they had 9 pieces. So even composition becomes a challenge. But they were smart about it. In some respects, they would break off into sections. So, you know, your brass is a section. Y'all go work on this part and get back to us with what you come up with. And then, you know, maybe you got the singer working with one guitar. So they would break off into like modules or something. But can you imagine coordinating an event or any kind of responsibility that you have to meet? You know what I'm saying? It becomes super serious. And y'all are at the age at this time in your life that you're talking about where y'all are starting to have serious responsibilities that you're kind of having to weigh which one is more important, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's hard to see what happens in the end, you know? You lost a member, and it becomes difficult, you know? And I guess, so that's basically one of the inspirations for one of the bands that you're in now that we can start talking about is not having to meet the responsibilities of a performing band.
Oh, you talking about Death Toll?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that started just as a recording project. So Death Toll ended, and for the funniest thing, when I was working offshore, I started writing weird rap songs based on my ICP thing, and I don't know if it was like a part of me to stay relevant or just to have fun. I like creating. So I did that, and I was like, you know what, man, I want to find... At that point, too, you got to think in the time that I started and where it is now, you didn't find many people making instrumental death metal songs, heavy songs.
Right.
Now it's easy. Now there's a bunch of websites I could show you to where somebody's just being a screaming vocalist that wants to practice or just have some content. You could pay $20 and have a full-on metal song.
Yeah.
And so I told a friend of mine, she's a singer on Bourbon Street. She does cover bands. Didn't even think about it at the time. And it's name dropping, but this is really how Death Toll started. I was like, yeah, I want to get back into recording metal. So if anybody knows anybody that can make some songs, I love to scream on them just to put them online, you know? And she's like, yeah, I got a friend of mine that does metal. I'll ask him. His name's Kyle Thomas.
No shit.
Exhorter. So this dude made a post like, hey, my friend's friend, Philip, is looking to like make some metal songs. Please hit him up, tag me in it. And I'm thinking like, wait, the Kyle you was talking about was Kyle Thomas?
Nice.
And I either had people hitting me up like, hey man, how the hell is Kyle Thomas sharing a post about you? To where Gavin hit me up like, hey man, I saw this post from Kyle Thomas from Exhorter. I'm sitting on a bunch of metal songs I don't have no vocals on. If you want to come lay it on it. And kind of cool too, Gavin used to come to the TUC practices.
Yeah.
And
what's his last name for everybody?
Bram. Gavin
Okay.
Bram, I think I'm saying it.
Okay.
Right? But yeah, the songs he showed me, I was like, holy shit. And that became the first EP
Sweet.
from Death Toll.
Yeah.
And it started as that. So just like this birthday show, getting Aggrofate back together, I did a birthday show getting the Unwilling Commencement back together at Twist of Lime just to have some fun. Like, hey man, I want to just get back together, jam one time. So Death Toll only had 2.5 songs. So I asked my friends if they'll learn these 2.5 songs just so that could open up the show.
Okay.
And it had such a good response to where I just kept milking it. So where actually is Jarrett from Aggrofate. He's like, hey man, I'll just jam with you until you find a drummer. But I wasn't searching for one because I wanted to keep him.
Okay.
And I had the bass player from the Unwilling Commencement who plays in Gora, plays the guitar. And he said the same thing. He's like, hey man, this ain't my style, but I'll play with you until you find somebody.
Sure.
But I just wasn't looking.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'll just keep milking it.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah. And then eventually, he's like, hey man, I'm gonna have to step down. And then we got this guy, Ed, play with us. And then Jarrett kept playing until Ida. And then that kind of started the first transition.
Hey, have you heard about Neworleansmusicians.com? It's a place where articles, music videos, interviews, and streaming music from Louisiana musicians can be found. Fans can join free. Music business professionals can join free too. And Louisiana musicians can join for free as well. It's also the place where Louisiana bands go to network and get free promotion. We've definitely got plenty, like this band. Check them out.
Let's see, I'm 39, been playing in the scene since I was 16. There's some, let me rephrase that, just so I'm not dissing nobody. The fact that you learn the songs, you show up to practice, you play shows here, you put on for the city, you're an all-star for me. But there's some that the skill level is higher than others, I guess, in my opinion.
Sure.
Who you might think is like the best guitar player, I might think otherwise, vice versa. Mike Saucier, whatever instrument this dude touched, kills it. He was our bass player. Jared Gillette kills it. Because he understands the song. He likes 1,000 genres and could adapt to all of it. So having those two, I didn't want to lose that. And they're easy. On the top part, they're cool dudes. They're funny. You could get along with them.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily want to, I guess, lose that. But I knew they were kind of just helping out. And I guess going back on my word, because Death Toll was just starting as, sometimes you get away from just why music is music. Music ain't, the live show is a live show, but a live show ain't a live show without the music. I wanted to go back to the garage. I wanted to go back to where we're just creating, having fun, and just putting stuff out without overthinking it.
Yeah.
Whether if the production was good or this and that.
Sure.
Like let's move on from this song and write another song.
Yeah.
You can easily sit with a song the rest of your life. There's songs that I put out to where I would go back and change one thing or another. But in that time and era, I thought it was the best thing ever. Enough
Sure.
to post it.
Yeah.
And you just move on from it. You know, that's why I thought it was weird, but I also thought it was kind of cool to where that thing with Kanye West. Mm-hmm. He had one album that was online that can forever be changed. Did you ever hear that? Like,
No.
if you ever want to change a beat, whatever's in your iPod or Apple Music at the time, if he changed it, it would change in your whatever you listen to music on.
Okay.
Because he thought art should not be
Stagnant. Should say remain the same. Yeah, sure. Okay.
But it's like, man, what if I like this version of it?
Yeah.
And now you're just going to change it. But so yeah, it just kept going on. But then we were getting, and on the same notion too, a lot of it was based on friendships and networking that we've made from being 16. Like, oh man, y'all got a band? Hop on this show, hop on this one. To where Death Toll started out the blue and was playing with our childhood heroes, was playing with national acts that were blowing up and haven't even been a band as long as others have been a band.
Yeah. Based
on, you know, sometimes it is who you know rather than
affiliations that you made throughout time. Yeah, sure.
Right. And so, yeah, Mike stepped down, got Jared, we got this guy Ed, we had this guy Bobby for a minute. It wasn't until we got this kid Troy from Lafayette. He would drive from Lafayette to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he picked up the songs like that. And he was amazing. And kept it going up until, I guess, Death Toll was going up until Ida hit, to where the original guitar player that wrote everything with me fell off his roof and damaged his back. And it's like, trying to piece it back together was a headache. We got a new drummer. Jared at the time wanted to focus more on working out. He didn't want to do the local show rat race no more. And we was geared towards that. That was our bread and butter. Okay. Especially with Gavin, because Gavin recorded everything. So now without Gavin, we're not recording like we did.
Yeah.
Or writing.
Yeah.
So he wanted to focus on fitness, and now we're without the writer and the drummer.
Yeah.
So we got this guy Hickman, who played in Raccoon City Massacre, learned songs just like that. Had Troy. He wanted to focus more on family stuff, so he kind of stepped down. And we ended up getting two other guitar players that, you know, one learned it, one kind of didn't. But we just wanted to play shows. But now coming back again, the shows weren't like what I thought it was. I mean, we was going for 2 years. I mean, this day and age, you know, you watch it online, this and that. So it seemed like we was putting a lot into these shows for, like, I guess no reason, or just getting added to like these shows that didn't make sense. But then the beginning of this year, it was going well.
So what are you saying in that last statement? You're saying that your band was on the bill and it didn't make sense. I guess it didn't make a business sense. Like, what are you saying exactly?
I guess like weekday, city, things going on. Like we kind of had like work again. We was kind of hopping on touring band spots, so they'll have a local, and it either wouldn't have much promotion or it being a weekday.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was happening. But this year, at the beginning of Death Toll, we had 2 birthdays and a festival, and it worked out. It was awesome. Well, then the drummer at the time was in a band that was more demanding and just had a son. So for me, it was when he quit to kind of focus on that I kind of just wanted to go back to just recording again.
Right. You're tired of the complications.
Yeah, the complications, and I started to think to where now that I'm trying to like record myself and make songs and trying to look at things, since the original guitar player that fell off the roof that wrote everything, it's been 2 years and there's been no new music. It gotten away from what a band should get together and do, which is write and create.
Sure.
We wasn't creating. We was entertaining.
Right.
We'll go out there and kill it, absolutely. But it's like, man, we got to come up with something different.
You're not growing in a new direction at all.
Or not even a new direction, just some kind of, I mean, we live in a content-based world now to where, like, at least if we had like a new song or something new, we could at least kind of contend with the girls that are just shaking their ass for 5 seconds and getting a million views.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, you know, like we keep rehashing this old stuff to where, like, you know, I started thinking, I guess as I got older, I started to think about when I was younger, in a weird sense of like, instead of thinking about the future, I'm like, man, I love the music thing, creating. Nowadays, like, there's very less replay value in bands. So there's a few friends of mine that look forward to Fridays because albums come out on Fridays now. They used to come out on Tuesdays. which I don't know why they switched it to Friday, because to me, when a new album came out on Tuesday, I listen to more of it during the week, you know, at work or whatever.
Yeah.
When new music comes out on a Friday, people are thinking about the weekend. Nobody's listening to new music. You're either at a show, you're having fun. Like, I think there was a reason why albums came out on Tuesdays.
Sure.
Because you had the week.
Yeah.
But I saw the thing, like, man, we got into this because we like creating. We're not creating anymore. You know, the group that I had killed it live and did these shows, but you play in the same venue and staying in front of the same people, playing the same songs. After so many years, like, it's fun. You know, sometimes you got to think about the schedule and you got to think about the band, who we're playing with.
So what do you do? What do you do to change that? What do you do to shake it up?
You write new songs. I'm sorry.
No, but I'm saying, like, obviously that's what you were hoping for, but what do you do in that moment since that is the case?
Well, for me, which I realized.
What did you do, I should say?
I just asked to take a break. I just wanted to make songs, and if they wasn't going to write any, I could pay for instrumentals. I have a lot of friends that have the capabilities to where I'll just throw them some money. You make me a track, I'll record it. Because I mean, really, that's what Death Toll was founded on. 2 people wrote songs, other people learned it. If it wasn't happen, maybe go back to how it started.
Yeah.
To where, hey, you just learn some songs, you play them live, make it a business.
Sure.
To where, like, hey, if you need a certain percentage of the door for your, you know, like a lot of people that use live musicians, you know, that's what.
Well, yeah, there's like a pool of musicians in New Orleans, and they're all in several bands because they're keeping themselves employed, basically, but they're also involved in different genres, it keeps it fresh for them. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that's healthy too. Let me ask though, you talked about when you got back, when you did sort of a reunion of Aggrofate and y'all performed and it was a good turnout. I think this was something that we were talking more so about before we started recording. And you were both delighted and surprised at the turnout. I mean, that's old material, but people are so happy to see it again. Do you think that the time spent, the time spent where that band was not performing at all is what made the reunion so welcome? I mean, it kind of by definition does, but I bring up the question because at that moment you were performing old stuff. But everybody's so happy to see it, and you're happy to be there. So, I mean, it kind of changes the context a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's more, so like when I think about the word anxiety, they've never been used as much as now, just like nostalgia. So like, look at how everybody is super crazy about acid bath.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like beyond, everybody here is probably going to Las Vegas for their first time.
Yeah.
Probably going to Ohio for their first time. I think about the time of when things were done as opposed to the times now, to where, so Aggrofate, when it was in its prime, there was an all ages there was 2 all ages venues here, 1 big one in Baton Rouge, 1 big one in Lafayette.
Okay.
To where when all these bands that were either huge at that time or became huge, when they came through, Aggrofate always got that first call to where you needed to be on their show. To where a lot of people now that I didn't even realize it, are like, hey man, when I came up, Aggrofate was my favorite band.
Right.
But they were kids, you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
As you know, and there's no all ages venues now, to where I think it's all about the time and style, because things always, I guess, recycle to where like trends, 90s trends come back,
sure.
80s trends come back.
Yeah.
The style that Aggrofate was then is making a huge comeback now.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So like that kind of MySpace kind of hardcore, Alabama does this thing called Furnace Fest, and they bring back those bands for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Just to come back, and But that's why I think to where, so let's say 3-4 years, however time works, if Raise the Death Toll decide to play again, it'd probably be better accepted then than it would be now.
Even you, though, pointed out, we discussed about saturation. Do you know what I'm saying? And you fall victim, musicians and bands are more liable to fall victim to making that mistake of saturating their area, especially if they're getting comfortable because they don't want to go on the road, especially if they're getting comfortable because they can perform instead of write, or they don't have the time to write, and they're not going through these motions. Saturation can be a death of sorts for a band, at least in the eyes of the public, because you're not going to get as big of a turnout. It's going to become disappointing to both parties, the band and the fans, because they just saw you, you know what I'm saying? And then you go to the venue and you perform and you're not seeing as many people, and you're like, well, shit, I thought this was still the same great music, but it's not that. It's just that they're not showing up because they saw you already like a month ago, you know what I'm saying? Maybe a town over or some shit, you know? And if you look at festivals or, let's say, block parties, things of this nature, anybody that's got backing and coordinated efforts, they'll make you sign a clause where you don't perform preceding that event or after that event, and it's for that very reason. And it's a trap that bands, I guess, with less guidance, or maybe they're a little bit too anxious, it's a trap that they put themselves into. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think because they don't have that clause here, they fall to it. That's why I guess we're jumping around, and I don't know if it's the venue to blame, the guy that's getting paid to just fill the schedule.
Yeah.
Because you got places that have events, and then you got somebody that's like, look, this bar is just trying to sell some drinks.
Sure.
I need at least 3 bands. So then you go through the notion like, hey man, I know you just played here last week. I can't find nobody. Will you play?
Right.
But that's where I'm into the thing to where if you have it like that, who am I to say is right or wrong? I have a different way of thinking to where I don't mind saying no. And I'm not trying to be a dick. You know, I love these venues. I'm friends with the owners. I get the business. If I'm able to, I will. But at the same time, like, if I'm playing here across the street here Friday, I'm probably not going to play there until 2 months from now on a Friday.
It's a smart bet. You're not being a dick. It's a smart bet.
Oh yeah, but also I don't fault the ones, because I have a lot of friends that would do that. But if they enjoy playing and they don't complain about the draw, who's to say they're wrong? They just want to go there and play in front of the bartender, hope the other band brings somebody.
It depends on what your goals are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you just, man, you ain't got nothing better to do and you rather jam and you don't care about who's coming, more power to you.
Yeah.
You're not in the wrong. But if that person is online or Facebook like, man, there's no scene, the scene is dead, then one, you're not promoting right. You're pretty much, there's people that throw shows and people that say yes to shows. I like being empowered in my shows, not being vain or whatever. I like going to a venue and asking for a date, and then I communicate with bands. I say, hey man, what date's good with you? I leave a couple dates open. Mm-hmm. So I'm not just like, hey, you want to play a show? Yeah, man. All right, man, well, I'll book Friday.
Well,
you know?
Okay, so you provide the direction, but you're also more vested in the event, which feels good because you take ownership in what the end result is. Do you know what I'm saying? It's something that you craft. You know what I'm saying? Which is, I get that. I mean, I understand that. So I guess that begs the question, why would you then be in a band whose goal is basically to not perform and just record?
For the music. I know a lot of bands, well, I know one in particular that don't even promote online, even about themselves. Mm-hmm. But they'll pay for studio time. Some people just record for themselves. And to me, that's probably like the true musician, to where like, man, we just want to make songs, we're having fun. I don't have to involve other people. You know, like, think about how many hobbies you have that you don't record or you don't document.
Sure.
Music could be that way. Like you were saying earlier about your goals, there's some to where they'll just make music all day that we'll probably never even hear the song. And it might be the best song that break them into the top 40.
Yeah.
But when you think about songs and you think about bands and you think about performers, you think about it for the audience. It's more kind of like for everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
and you have to ask yourself, how will this be received?
Right.
And that can kind of impede the creative process too.
Yeah, because it wasn't really towards, I guess, the end of, and I guess the saying is a different time now, this and that, and not that I thought I was on like some kind of pedestal. At the end of Death Toll, when I was thinking about, man, we ain't making new songs, we got shows, I just want to take a break, there wasn't like an outcry online about y'all need to come back. There wasn't an outcry of songs or whatever. So then when I started thinking like, man, I guess I really am doing it for me and not for them. Because at some point I was like, man, I got to keep dishing this out there. There's
doing
people
what
that like
for
it.
me and not for them? The promotion or the leaving?
No, the music itself.
Okay.
So when I was thinking about that, I'm like, well, man, if I'm making music for other people, am I really happy doing this? Like you was talking about earlier, at what point you said something earlier that touched on how I kind of been feeling to where when you realize you're doing stuff for yourself and not for others,
Yeah.
and you take yourself out of that bubble, that inspiration's going. Like you said, with like interviews, like, man, if I'm not inspired to do this, it just comes out blah.
Yeah.
So when I started to think about, man, am I making music for other people or am I making it for me? Let me just take a step back. Like, man, I don't care about, not necessarily I don't care about the shows. I have fun doing them. But like, if I'm depressed about putting on shows or dealing with a live collective or this and that, and I take a break, and if others get mad, or they're mad that they can't play the shows, or they're being selfish to where like, hey, this dude's getting depressed playing shows.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their goals and priorities, and if any one other person interferes with that, then they're disappointed in that person. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not being considerate. It's hard to be considerate in the truest sense of the word, which is to consider the other person's point of view, because we're all so deeply entrenched in our own lives. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I understand where that comes from, and I guess that's a bummer. You know what I'm saying? To have to deal with that aspect or have that kind of taint what music is for you and to you. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I get that. Talk to me a little bit about Lyrics for Liam. You touched on it at the very beginning of the interview, but that's kind of where I came to know you, because that's what you enlisted with on Neworleansmusicians.com as a member. And I thought the concept was super cool, which, as it was explained to me, if I could take a shot at it, was that you wanted not only, as you mentioned earlier, not only have a legacy to hand your child, but you noticed that a lot of songs in the genre, let's say death metal genre, the metal genre, they didn't have content or maybe appropriate language for a child to be able to enjoy, and you wanted to create something that you didn't mind as a father revealing to your child or having your child experience, which I thought was a novel idea, a noble idea. But I mean, the music was good on top of that, so I was intrigued by that, you know, and I was glad to have you as a site member on the laurels of that body of work, you know. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you went about making such a thing, because we're kind of familiar now with why you did it. Maybe you could talk to me about how you did it and with whom.
Most of it is with this guy, Bobby. He plays in Wasted, Decoy, Doctors. He was in Death Toll for a minute. I guess a lot of it, I think I probably touched on it a bunch of times. Throughout all this, to me, when I was coming up, Aggrofate at the beginning, it was easier to do shows, harder to record. They didn't have all this technology they have now.
Sure.
You had to spend some money. And New Orleans, even if you had the money, it wouldn't been as good as somewhere like California, New York, Texas. You know, you got what you got. But as times got older, or I got older, shows became easy. Recording seemed easier, but shows are still the presidents. I wanted to make songs, and one thing that I hit on when I was younger and writing poems, writing songs, and the thing I still live and die by is write what you know.
Okay.
Don't try to fabricate nothing.
Right.
You know, you write from your source. Don't try to copy nobody. So being a father and loving being a father, loving my son, I'm like, man, I like to write some metal songs dedicated to him, about him. These are my feelings. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because like Aggrofate, when I was talking about earlier, you know, you write a song about a girl you broke up with, and then you're performing this song live about a girl you're upset with while you're dating another girl and no longer upset with this girl. But these are the songs, you know, like feelings change, and you're performing these songs like, man, I'm yelling about this one girl and dating this girl. I'm not even I'm not even upset with this one. But I was like, man, you know, I could easily, I forgot what I can't remember the movie or what I watched, but it was like a son finding a letter that his dad wrote after he passed away and reading it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, being a metal singer and enjoying performing metal songs and having the opportunity and knowing the people I can do this with, like, man, what if I just screamed my feelings with him, and maybe if he gets older, granted, he might not even like metal. Right now, he hates the idea of metal. So I don't know if it's going to go over well, but I just love like singing songs with him. Yeah. Or singing songs about him, right?
Yeah.
And also, it was during the time of Death Toll too, so where Death Toll was just straight death metal, this and that. I wanted to collaborate and work with people I know that can actually sing. Because if you listen to every Liam song, they have guest vocals of singers. But it was my chance to also sit back here with people like, hey man, I love you singing. It wouldn't work with Death Toll. Let's just make some songs. These songs will never be performed live. These songs are just songs just to exist for the sake of like creating music.
Does that make it more approachable in your eyes to collaborative efforts, people in general? That it's not going to be performed live, there's going to be no further obligation, it's something that we can just work on and jam with it now.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I guess it becomes, I don't want to say an obligation, because one of them, so, and it's weird too, and I guess it would just be how cool I am with my son or whatever. There's one song I have to where, so I went to Warped Tour, and I was thinking about, man, when I was young, I heard about Warped Tour my whole life. I didn't get to go until I was like 30-something.
Okay.
Well, one band that really got me was this band called Like Specific. Okay. They're from Canada. And this guy was so nice, awesome singer. And I reached out to him. He's a signed professional record label, tours the world singer. Mm-hmm. Told him about my idea. And, you know, he's a gay guy. Never have kids, and he's a professional, so they charged me. I had to pay $300, but he delivered. So I don't know if that performs under obligatory or whatever, but it became a business deal, and he delivered within a week. And that's, to me, my favorite song. But I got to collaborate with somebody that I look up to, on a professional level. Yeah. And because of that, I guess on Spotify, that's like the skyrocketing business thing. But that's why I like also about just recording this and that, because I guess working offshore and I'm a little, what's the word, lucky on the financial sense to where I could enlist people of a higher stature that tour the world and this and that for another
You can invest in, you can afford to invest in yourself.
Yeah, one to the songs.
Sure. Yeah. Is that going to be a continuing thing that you're going to always add to, or was it for the experience of one album, or what are you planning?
Well, I didn't get to finish the album, but I'm the kind of person to where, I guess the same with Death Toll, to where I got to finish what I started.
I mean, you have songs online. They can go see on Neworleansmusicians right now. They can go see lyrics for or listen to lyrics for Liam songs. But you're just saying that it's an incomplete work as of yet.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting on 2 instrumentals to where I try to prioritize and I guess get it where I can, to where the Aggrofate thing picked up stronger than I thought it would, because now we're writing new songs.
Good.
We're going into the studio to record the songs we never got to record. Playing January 25th at Southport.
All right.
But yeah, that's always going to be a continuous thing as Death Toll, to where Death Toll is like the horror movies, lyrics for Liam, about my son, you know, like as long as I'm alive, he's always going to be my son.
Yeah.
I'm always going to love him. To have more of like a positive outtake, like you said, because, you know, metal's not always mean. I mean, I know like hair metal gets a lot of shit, but it was like a party atmosphere, like a little uplifting than like the negativity all the time. Because sometimes you would think as somebody like our age, and where we're going at, where are the metal songs about just working a 9 to 5 and being upset at your boss?
You're not lying, dude. And that's so funny because the 2 things that are popping in my head right now, I'm like, yeah, man, it was a whole lot about girls when I was curious about girls, like Rat, and they got this leotard-clad chick crawling around, or you listen to a song and literally it's like girls. I'm like, yes, this is great. So I mean, it was more lighthearted back then with the hair bands, even though it's a style that people shit on now because they're like, oh, that's so passe. But you're right, dude. You're right. It's become so intense, so serious. You know?
Yeah. Where's the metal to where? I mean, even if it's going to be serious, where's the one like you're upset at your boss, you got to pay bills, your wife's upsetting you.
Sure.
It's all like this angst or some kind of thing to where it seemed like in the teenage years I would get it, but like as an adult, I'm listening to these songs, I'm like, man, is this just what you think metal fans want to listen to?
Yeah.
Like I don't relate to no. If anything, I relate to the rap songs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to make some money. I'm trying to pay the light bill. Yeah, my car just broke. You know, or the country songs rather. But metal always just seems to be like, AI even figured it out. If you say, I want to write a metal song about this, it just sounds like this super over angst, over angry lyrics. Is like, man, I don't really feel like that. Kind of to the extreme, you know?
It is. And you know, I find that in heavier metal genres today, there's a lot of imagery that is used to kind of project a feeling as well, such to where it pulls you out of reality, which is cool, I guess. You know, like some people like sci-fi movies or some shit, but at the same time, like you're saying, like where is the plain English, real life experience in a rock song? And it might be of a bygone era, or maybe it's something that needs to come back around. I don't know, but it's definitely missing. So I feel what you're saying. You know?
Or just uplifting, or just like, you know.
Well, it's Christian rock.
Well, even then, like, the one Christian rock band I keep thinking about that comes to mind is As I Lay Dying, and I don't know if you saw the stuff with them. Mm-mm. But what the biggest Christian rock to me, Christian metal band was As I Lay Dying, and this dude got caught for putting a hit out on his wife.
Oh, wow.
Went to jail, came back. The band came with him. But now there's a video that just surfaced that they're saying he had a roid rage, so the whole band just quit a week before their new album. You got to see this video.
Wow.
But the band's called As I Lay Dying. But, you know, like more of like, I almost feel like some metal lyrics, and it's not all of them, I'm not picking on everybody, it's like, I'm the victim and I'm mad about it. To where's the ones like, I wake up every day and I fucking just get it on. Like, if you're down, pick yourself up. You know, where's the motivation? I mean, it's a strong music. It's lifting, this and that.
Yeah.
But to where, so one of the biggest strides, I don't know if you saw that this week, Knocked Loose was on Jimmy Kimmel. Mm-hmm. And parents and adults are writing for Jimmy Kimmel to apologize.
For having them on?
Yeah.
I didn't see the performance. I saw that they were going to be on, and I thought that was an interesting choice, and I might have made a post about it, but I didn't see the performance.
Oh, yeah. Kids are crying, they're saying it was scary.
Oh,
it wasn't what they
dude,
expecting.
It's a different world we live in right now. And
but I give it up for Knocked Loose because I'm expecting them to, but I guess they haven't yet. To where a band of that stature still does not have any clean vocals. He screams the entirety. Mm-hmm. And they play Coachella. They're playing all these venues or festivals and events with bands that don't scream. Mm-hmm. But usually when you get to that point of your level of success, you start commercializing yourself, which ain't bad. I mean, that's how they're paying their bills.
Well,
but
yeah.
they seem to have gotten heavier.
It's a compromise, is what you're saying, though, and sometimes.
But they haven't compromised.
Right,
they got
haven't.
heavier.
But you're saying a lot of other bands will, at that when they reach that certain point, start to compromise some of the direction or things that they stood on to begin with,
and either get called a sellout or, oh man, this ain't what they were. Like, man, but you got to think they're at that level to where, man, if the money's talking, some people might have integrity and tell them, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
I'm not gonna switch up.
Got to stand up for it, bro.
But life's getting more expensive and music's not paying as much.
Definitely.
But the cool thing I would say, like I was talking about connections or whatever. So Knocked Loose played Louisiana for the first time, and Raise the Death Toll got to open up, and it sold out.
Wow.
And minutes after, so Knocked Loose, a lot of people had left. But Knocked Loose got with us and the other opening bands and wanted to celebrate. So as I'm celebrating with them, I got a call that my girlfriend water broke. So I had to leave, and that's when Liam was born.
Oh, no shit. Wow.
And a nurse that worked at that hospital was there celebrating with us and drove me to the hospital.
Oh, no shit. What are the chances of that?
Yeah, he stayed with us the whole time, too.
That's awesome.
And he's from the Philippines.
Wow. So tell people what they can expect from you in the coming months. Because you get several projects now.
To be honest, I don't know what to expect from me. I don't know what the time is.
Maybe they need to.
I bought a new computer today on the Black Friday sale. I really like to get more heavy. I would say expect a lot of trial and error. I'm going to be practicing recording myself still. I'm going to be practicing video editing still. I plan to really kind of been putting it off, but I want to visit Jonathan at OCD Recording. Either he's going to mix my stuff or teach me how to, or I pay them, they record it, and I compare.
Right. So in general, though, in the near future, they're going to be seeing a lot more media coming from you. The trials and errors and the finished product. I mean, are you going to put some of the fuck ups out there, or what?
I thought about. I have a lot of friends that's been randomly going live on TikTok and making up to $200 a week.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the thing is like, I don't know if it'll be fuckers. The one thing I want to do was go live as I'm recording a cover song, something I want to just put up and speak on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, but not so much as content, but hopefully reading some comments. Hey, try this. Hey, you got this turned up.
Yeah.
Won't you do this in live time?
Yeah.
Instead of having like 5 or 6 people over showing me this and showing me that. I know a lot of skilled individuals that mix themselves very awesome, and I could get their advice. I could do this and that. It's different reading it.
I think you're going to find that rewarding because it's called engagement, right? And you're getting your friends online and stuff to engage with your posts. That triggers an algorithm, but you're also going to learn something from it. And other people that are following that are going to learn from the advice that you're scraping out of the internet, So, I mean, that's cool, bro. I mean, I think a lot of people would be looking for some stuff like that, bro.
Yeah, like a teacher thing, but Yeah, I guess there's new Aggrofate coming out, new Death Toll, new...
That's Raise the Death Toll. Just
Raise the Death Toll.
Yeah, okay.
New lyrics for Liam. Like I said, a lot of stuff too, I don't like wasting money. And there's a lot of things I guess I got super excited. I don't know if it's mania or whatever psychological diagnosis you could put on somebody. But when I get excited, I get excited. And I just start paying for artwork. I start paying for promo. So I'm sitting on a lot of artwork on things I thought during that time I would have the music for.
Yeah.
But life happens.
Sure.
Shit just happens.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting on it. I don't want the stuff to go to waste or never really be seen. Or even if it gets seen, it's not like I have, like I said, thousands or even probably 100 people anticipating anything I do. It's just for my own fulfillment of...
You got to see it through.
Yeah. Regardless what happens or what may happen.
So you can't. You are on your own schedule, but you still have to fulfill certain obligations that you have set for yourself.
Yeah. And that's pretty much where it is at the end of the day. Because, like I said, I'm almost 40. I'm not dressing like these kids. I'm not sounding like these kids. I'm not an influencer or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm breaking any barriers per se, or looking to like have something go viral, this and that.
Yeah,
I just have...
Dude, Philip, if there's one place in the world that shit does not matter, it's here. You do, honestly. Because right now, if you ask me, the old guard is the one that's still in charge. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these bands that we grew up idolizing are still carrying the torch.
And
that's amazing.
I brought that up because why is that only here? And I'm not...
I can't say that it is. I can't say that it is. That's just how I feel, and maybe that's
but that's how it is. Cause,
maybe that's the truth. I don't know.
No, well,
but I feel like that is the case.
Well, I got asked this to where I always wondered, and somewhat they're kind of passing the torch, and somewhat they're kind of embracing the others.
Well, they're guiding us.
But
they're guiding the new guard, if you will.
But on the other hand, they're kind of not. It's almost like working offshore, to where a captain is scared to show a deckhand the skills.
Gatekeeping is what he's referring to. Yeah.
So I guess with the level
some of them are guilty of that.
Well, the level of Death Toll, the level of Lyrics for Liam, engaging online. When I talk to people from other countries, especially, they didn't think anything other than what I Hate God, Crowbar sound like existed in Louisiana.
Gotcha.
And it's like, man, this is such a melting pot for music.
Yeah.
There's so much rap, there's so much jazz, there's so much soul, there's all this. Why is metal the most stagnant thing, to where if you're not in the cargo shorts, you're not a Phil Anselmo, you're not a Kirk Windstein, all these other bands really get overshadowed.
Just like you said earlier, man, getting on the road, getting out there, that's what's making it overseas. You talked about across the pond in Europe and such. That's what's making it over there. So those are our ambassadors. Until they see different in person, that's all they know. So that's why. But and it's not a bad thing, but it's the state of affairs, you know what I'm saying? And until we can, I mean, it might take several smaller local bands to pool their time and energy and money to be able to go to Europe and be like, look, we're also this shit too. But until that happens, that's all they know. You know what I mean? And it's one of the driving forces for me to have created Neworleansmusicians.com, the YouTube channel, the blog, because that stuff is not so much terrestrial. They can view it from around the world, and they do. I see where some of these hits come from. I'm in like 63 countries now, and I'm grateful for that, because I want Finland to know what it's like down here, what our musicians are like down here. And there's going to be some relativity between the two. It's like, I go through that same shit too, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I wanted to make the world a little bit smaller in that respect, dude. But thank you for your time, man. This has been awesome. I appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you coming out here.